It's what you can do for them. They can vote for you, but if you can't do anything for them. For us, we have seen it necessary to have a section that deals with youth development and employment creation. We have not had a lot of employment for most people living in universities. Some of them have 10 years of having a degree, but without any experience. So we need to develop our youth in a small way so that they are able to be employed.
Okay.
Because you can still go and look for a job, but you have no experience, you're 10 years. I end up lying for you to say you were working at my company. But I know I am lying. When you go there, you don't perform. So we need to develop our youth so that they can become employable. Okay. That's the starting point. And the government have got the system. You've got ZIMBABWE, the Zimbabwe Manpower Development Fund. I think it can be tailored and restructured and be redirected to see that people who did not get employment somehow get employed, because the employer is not willing to get them without any experience. Let's help each other with the employer so that the employer is able to take them without experience. They get paid a little with the assistance of government. A bit of it comes from government, a bit comes from the employer. Okay. They get enough experience, maybe after a year or two. An intelligent person, in my own opinion, after a year in a job, should be able to know most of the things. Yes, we can then go to 5, right? But because we are trying to limit the number of people who apply for a certain job. Okay. But within a year or two, you are done. When that happens, after 5 years, you see how a business is run. You've been in it, you know you must be able to keep track of your accounts, you must be able to keep track. They are able, at that point, after 5 years, to do projects of their own, to look after themselves. But I want to avoid the word project. At that point, you can then assist them to start their own companies. Because without new companies, this country is not going anywhere. When we rely on these old, mature companies, you don't expect to create any additional employment which can reduce our employment rate. No, they have matured. They will replace the one who has died. They will replace the one who has retired. But we want new people. The only way you can, or one of the most effective ways, I don't like the word the only thing, the most effective way of making sure that we grow our employment is to make sure that there are new companies being formed. What is the advantage of new companies? They start with the latest technology. They don't have to retool. They are starting with the latest technology, so they move forward very quickly. If you have got 10,000 of them across the country, which is possible, and they are employing each one 10 people, all right? You have 100,000 people employed overnight, and these are small companies. So our survival is going to be in small companies that are more mobile, more agile, because they can change very quickly to the environment. In any case, these are the educated guys. They can be more mobile. Those old companies, yes, let's continue to keep them going, because that's where our experience is going to come from.
Okay.
Yes. So for me, youth development is more important than telling them that vote for us gives them a few dollars, they start a chicken project and so forth. After a year, I can tell you, if you go back, all those projects will be gone. They were just for an election. In other words, let's stop planning for an election.
Okay.
Let's plan for the future of this country.
Okay.
An election will come and go.
Okay. So maybe as we draw close to the end of our session, there's been a lot of talk. I asked this question because it's feedback from the live broadcast we had when you were launching a NPC. Most people were saying these new political parties that are forming everywhere, they are projects of the ruling party ZANU-PF, who are trying to split maybe the opposition vote. I don't know. What's your take on these assumptions?
I've heard this from the time I was not in politics. I didn't go into politics long ago. I started when I was 53 years. Way after every other young man had started. You know, the moment we begin to think that everything that is done, ZANU-PF is capable of doing it, we are making them invincible. They are not capable of doing that. If they can't change this country to what it should be, if they can do that, which means they've got big ideas that can make the country move forward. But I expect it. I expect that to happen because we have stopped to work. And when I say we have stopped to work, I don't mean lifting a brick or lifting a shovel. I mean we have stopped to think.
Okay.
Because we have been in this environment for so long. If you make money, we don't think it's because of you. We think it's because of someone else. If you fail, you never think it's because of you. You think it's someone else. If we don't do well, we think it's ZANU. ZANU is not that that powerful. It's not that capable. ZANU is succeeding because of our weaknesses. And our first weakness is fear. We think you can't attack these people. No. Yes, people can say that. I will accept it. But I'll ask them to wait until we get to the election. If we are capable of changing this country, as I'm sure we will change this country, then they will go back to their own ways. It's part of the learning process. If they are making a mistake now by labeling me as MPF project, then they will learn from it and know that it's possible for a young man, an old man, or anyone, a woman, a young man, to come from somewhere and create a project that will change his life and the lives of the rest of the people. It's our mentality. We are used to it. Everyone says, I'm not saying ZANU-PF doesn't cheat or doesn't do what, but I don't think the weakness is in ZANU-PF's strength. Because we are saying they do this, that's why we don't do it. That's why we don't move forward. But I'm saying, yes, let's leave that to them. Those are their strengths. There is nothing that we can do about their strengths. The only thing that we can do that will change this country is to improve our own strengths as citizens, to above that of ZANU-PF. That's how we can defeat them. Okay. But if we try to fight them, to fight their strengths, to take their strengths away from them, they will refuse, obviously. We must work on our weaknesses and say, how can we remove our weaknesses? How can we build on our strengths so that we are above ZANU-PF or we are at par? When we are at par, I see it as the best situation for the country. Then you can have a government of national unity.
Okay.
I believe a government of national unity for us as a nation, even if we were to win 100% of the seats, anyone who wins more than 2/3 majority must not beat their chest and say we have done well and go along on them. So they must go and look for people who are not in their organizations, who are not in their parties, to work with them, so that at any given point, we have got a government of national unity.
Yes.
It doesn't have to be politicians that you are looking for. It must be technocrats. I think I said that day, I believe we need a presidential democracy.
Okay.
We don't, this parliamentary democracy where people are fighting each other is probably not the best. You need a system where a president of the country is allowed to pick anyone from anywhere to be part of his executive, not necessarily those who are in parliament.
Who are in the political party.
Yeah, because your best people are not in parliament.
Okay.
The former mayor of Harare, Mchade Masunda, once said, democracy sometimes gives us the people that we don't want. And when you get politicians who are there because they manipulated individuals by giving them sweets and so that they can vote for them, you have got the wrong people in parliament. And when you have got a parliamentary democracy where your ministers, the majority of them, come from people who won, those people must still go back to an election. Okay. They will favor themselves until that day.
Okay.
So they don't look at the whole country.
Okay.
But when you look at people who have nothing to do with any political party, to come and be executives in your government, to become the ministers and the secretaries, they don't look at the next election because they are not going to be competing. They will look at the whole country. So for us, that's the starting point.
Okay.
We may not achieve this now, but we can achieve it through employment, where we take people from across the political divides from everywhere to occupy important positions in government. And to ask ministers to be capable of listening to technocrats. And to ask technocrats to be brave. For us, from my own experience, a lot of the technocrats are cowards. They will follow what the minister says.
Okay.
And not advise the minister to go the other way. So we continue with that weakness.
Okay.
Because the guy is afraid that if I go against the minister, I might lose my job. We must give these guys the space to practice what they trained in.
Okay.
To practice what they are experienced in.
Okay.
And what their wisdom tells them.
Okay.
Yes.
So as we close this session, what few words or your last words would you say to the Zimbabweans who are out there, who are looking for hope? What would you say NPC is here for?
NPC is here to say the time has come. The time is now. It is your time. It is our time. And what does that mean? What it means is we want to go into a situation where, regardless of what vote we get, it must change this country. Okay. It must be a Makoni changed the country in 2008, even though his name did not feature very well. because he made sure that ZANU-PF and MDC did not get 50 plus 1%. But we are saying that's important because then it makes us recognize everyone. We are saying this is the time that we say everyone must participate in this country. Our planners must work effectively to plan this country for the next 100 years, for the next 50 years. Right now, I don't think we've got a plan for the next 50 years for this country. Okay. Where is the new town going to come from? Where is it going to be? Where is the new employment come from? And why? We need that amongst ourselves. Okay. Instead of talking about the bread and butter issues for the minister, for the MP, and for the president, where you say, what do I need? I need this much. I'm not saying that's what is happening, but I'm saying we need to move in a bold where we involve everyone and focus on development and not on issues that have nothing to do with the development. Okay. And make sure that everyone understands that he has a role to play in the development of the country. No one must feel left out. No one must feel that he's an outcast. So our policies are that each one from every corner of the country must be told that he has a voice. At some point, he's capable of becoming a president of this country, of becoming an executive. So because of that, each one must be made to see that they are important. Okay. And not just in terms of the words that we speak, but in terms of what we actually do after we get into government. Okay. Whether in a coalition, whether alone, whether is just MPs. Okay. But what we expect is that those that be must see the necessary reforms that need to be done. And most of these are not paper reforms. These are reforms that must happen in our heads. Most of the reforms that we're asking for, even if we put them on paper, they will not get into their heads. People will still continue to operate in a manner that they will. So, in other words, governance will not work. Okay. Where someone is bent on saying, I am the person. Okay. Yes. Okay, Mr. Mubaiwa. Unfortunately, because of time, we have to cut the conversation short. But I'm sure we will be seeing each other around, and all the best in your endeavors. And thank you so much for being on the agenda. Thank you. I hope I wasn't too emotional. It's something that makes me emotional at some point. Yeah, the love of one's country, it all makes everyone emotional. It is very important. Thank you very much. Thank you for your time. We didn't think we would be called in for an interview so early after we launched. But just a word, we are still building our structures around the country. We are still looking for leaders. Okay. We are not looking for supporters. We think they will come on their own. But we want leadership in every corner of the country, so that he can tell us what must be done. Okay. And we can listen. And we can advise him, no, this is what is. So we are looking for leadership at this point. Okay. So those who think they are leaders, this is their time. Okay. Because we think it's the country's time. Okay. Yes. Okay, Mr. Mubaiwa, thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you. Okay. So that was the president of National People's Congress. NPC. NPC, yes. Mr. Mubaiwa, he was here discussing about NPC, where it came from, how they plan on tackling the challenges that are bedeviling Zimbabwe at the moment. This is News MTV. Thank you for watching. For more, follow us on our Facebook page, our YouTube channel, subscribe and watch more of these videos. Thank you. See you next time.